Okay, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling a topic that's, well, pretty central to getting anything meaningful done, really.
Mm.
Discipline.
hmm And our source material for this deep dive is quite specific, isn't it? We're working just with the metadata and the descriptive text about a book.
Right, found on the Internet Archive. The book's called The Power of Discipline: How to Use Self-Control and Mental Toughness to Achieve Your Goals. Daniel Walters, the author, listed there from 2020.
So, yeah, our mission isn't actually reviewing the book itself. We don't have it.
No.
We're unpacking what this description tells us. What's the approach to discipline it's selling?
Exactly. What can we learn from how this source positions discipline, self-control, mental toughness, all as tools for achieving your goals?
It's sort of a deep dive into the pitch then. What message is this description trying to get across about the power the book supposedly offers?
That's it precisely. And you can see the implied promise right there in the title, can't you? Using discipline to actually achieve the goals you're aiming for.
Yeah.
And the description, it teases some core claims. It suggests it covers developing habits, implementing self-discipline.
Taking charge of behaviors.
Right, and grounding all this in psychological and, interestingly, philosophical principles.
Okay, so let's unpack that description bit by bit. What's the main claim? What does the book do, according to this text?
Well, the source states pretty clearly it shows us how to develop habits that will improve our lives. Uh-huh. Implement strong self-discipline to perform them regularly and take charge of our behaviors.
So, straight away, it's framed as practical, a how-to.
Definitely.
It's not just theory, it's about the doing. Developing habits, okay, consistency, then using strong self-discipline. That emphasis on strong is interesting to make sure you follow through.
Yeah, regularly.
And the result, taking charge of our behaviors. I mean, that phrase itself is quite appealing, don't you think? It speaks directly to feeling, well, in control.
It really does. And for you, the listener, maybe you're juggling a lot, trying to focus. The idea of taking charge of your behaviors probably cuts right to the heart of the challenge.
It frames this as the solution.
It positions this material as a way to gain that exact control.
Absolutely. Now, the description also mentions the kind of content. How does it supposedly help you do this? It says the author offers numerous psychological and philosophical scientific facts, principles, laws, and instructions.
That's quite a list. Psychological, philosophical, and scientific facts. It suggests maybe a multifaceted approach, grounded understanding from different fields.
It seems like it. It tries to elevate discipline beyond just gritting your teeth.
Right.
It implies there's a method rooted in understanding why we act the way we do, and lumping philosophical and scientific facts together like that. Well, that's intriguing.
How so?
Well, it suggests maybe bridging ideas ancient wisdom or ethical stuff, alongside modern psychology. It frames it all as foundational blocks,
Yeah.
facts, principles, laws, and crucially, instructions. So it's meant to be actionable. You're supposed to be able to do something with this information.
Makes sense. And the description also tells us the purpose of all this knowledge. Why gather these facts and principles? It says they are for strengthening our self-control and overcoming the disruptors that prevent us from achieving our greatest goals.
Okay, strengthening our self-control, that's key, right? Self-discipline needs that foundation.
Uh-huh.
And then there's that word from the source, disruptors.
Yeah, what do we take that to mean just based on the context here?
Well, given the talk about habits and taking charge of behavior, these disruptors sound like the obstacles, the things that knock you off course.
Like internal things, external things.
Maybe both, I imagine. Maybe distractions, procrastination, yeah.
Mm.
Maybe fear, conflicting desires,
Mhm.
anything that breaks that disciplined action chain.
So the source is basically saying, look, here's a guide built on these diverse principles
Psychological, philosophical.
to help you build up your inner strength, your self-control,
Yeah.
specifically so you can blast through whatever gets in your way, those disruptors.
Precisely. And for someone looking for maybe a systematic way to navigate all the noise
Yeah, the information overload.
or just the general complexity of life, to actually make progress on what matters to them. This focus on identifying and overcoming disruptors would sound pretty relevant, I think.
It really would. The source presents this book's content, these facts, principles, instructions, as the toolkit you need for that specific fight.
Yeah, the toolkit, I like that.
It connects right back to maybe wanting to learn something useful, quickly but also deeply. The description implies the book gives you both the why, the understanding from psychology and
Or
philosophy.
the how.
And the how, the practical steps. It's not just saying try harder. It's promising the underlying reasons and the methods.
And bringing it all back to you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
The source description frames discipline not just as, like, a good personality trait.
No, it's more active than that.
Yeah, it's a tangible power, something you can actively cultivate and use, a tool aimed explicitly at helping you achieve your specific goals
Oh, by gaining control.
and removing those obstacles, the disruptors.
So if we just look purely at what this Internet Archive description tells us, the core message is pretty compelling, isn't it?
It is. What's the essence then?
That discipline, when it's supported by these insights from psychology and philosophy, is basically the power you need
The power to do what?
to build effective habits, control your behavior consistently, and ultimately clear the path to your most important goals by overcoming whatever's in the way.
So it positions discipline as an applied skill set, something practical.
Yeah, grounded in understanding, designed specifically for getting things done, especially when things get tough.
Right. And just to be clear, this whole deep dive was only about what that specific source, the description, told us.
Exactly. We're not commenting on the book itself, just the claims made about it in this metadata, but it certainly highlights discipline as a key power, something accessible and developable.
Which leads us nicely to a final thought for you, the listener, something to chew on maybe, drawing from that promise in the source.
Yeah.
If discipline really does offer the power to achieve your greatest goals and overcome these disruptors, what's the very first disruptor that you would choose to tackle with that strength and self-control?
That's a good question to ponder. What's obstacle number one on your list?